add some of my channels to the stream too.
It's our after hours. We've already had some fun on some after hours talk in the backstage area.
Yeah, that's backstage.
Not how to
after
treat
hours.
the backstage. You need an extra permit to get back there to have those conversations with us. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, everybody who is coming in. If you're new to this, this is where you get to pick our brains about the types of readings, how we get into or how we got to where we are. If you have questions about how tarot might work or what the favorite decks are, feel free to ask us. It's not necessarily to get free readings, but if you have questions you've always wanted to ask a reader, go ahead and type it in the comments. We will answer you live. So right next to me, and I got to remember to point in the opposite direction because the screen's flipped, is Hank. Hank, who is one of our normal readers on Thursday. Is normal the correct word, Hank?
As normal as
Regular. The word's regular.
Is that correct? Ever the correct word?
Right, probably not for any of us. I think we're all a little weird in our own right. Hank, your main modality is pretty much healing work, but a lot of times in the healing work you get messages for people. But what are all of your specialty things for somebody who's not used to working with you yet?
Well, I blend modalities. Primarily access consciousness, shamanism, and sound healing. I blend all three to customize the experience for people. And then, like Melissa said, while I work on someone, usually I'm getting information that's really relevant for whatever they're going through.
Phenomenon.
Phenomenon.
And on the other side of Hank is Joan. Joan, you do tarot, Lenormand, oracle, general shenanigans, crocheting, all the things. Yes. So what might you want everybody to know about you and like what you could possibly answer for them tonight?
I don't know. Let's figure it out. I'm always, I love to dig for information. So when it comes to spiritual journeys, if there's something out there, I'm always looking. What is it? What is X-Files? It's, it's always out there. What is the tagline?
The truth is out there.
Thank you. That one. Right there. I mean, how did I? This way. Right there. Where he's
right.
Thanks, truth is out there. Find it. Make your own truth.
It's backwards and flipped, right? All right. So next to Joan, on the other side of Joan, is JD. JD, you do artwork shenanigans.
Shenanigans, mostly.
random charcoal markings on paper, and voila, you have a message.
Ish. So I do spirit drawings. Basically, it's my way of reading. So I literally I kind of get a little starting point in my head, but not like a picture, and then put some chalk on the paper and kind of scry into that as I go. And the more that I draw things out, the more things kind of tie together. And then I type up a message. I actually give her a typed out message with the drawing, and then discussion as needed as far as further explanation on what the message is talking about.
Cool. And somewhat diagonally below JD, we have Elias. Elias, you do tarot and runes.
Yes. Told you gotta ask the question. Unless you come to my table, when you sit down at the table, don't ask the question. Don't feed me. I'll take it. I'll run the cards. I'll give you what I got. Then we get to play with questions.
You were one of the first few readers who were like, "Shut up! Don't tell me." And I'm like, "He's good." And we have Maria. Maria, you do mediumship, but your main thing is a lot of the healing work.
Yes. Pranic healing, shaman healing, and I'm also a certified clinical hypnotherapist. So I can do past life regressions, stress management, weight loss, all of that stuff. So
Certified clinical. That right there is
Yeah. Yeah, and you do get into it. It's really fascinating.
And then right below me, we have Alexa, and this is going to be a fun story. Alexa's not her name.
Who would have thunk it?
And we're going to blame Don because he's not here to defend himself, but it is his fault because he kept saying, Alexa, 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 Alexa. So I thought your name was Alexa.
Yeah, so that started because since Dawn does the cross-section between tarot and astrology, we almost always end up on our natal charts at some point in time, looking through those. And so Dawn had taken all of our information and had brought our charts for us. And apparently when he put in like my date of birth, my time, and it asked for my name, he typed Alexa. And when everyone saw it printed, they're like, oh, cool, Alexa. It's like,
That's not my name.
But all right. Sure.
Wonderful. You know, my Google device is going nuts.
It's your professional reading now.
Yeah. Dawn had introduced me to Melissa. I was like, hey, Melissa, Alexa's ready to vet you in. I'm like, that's right.
But she's totally owned this name. I was going to say she's totally owned this name because the other day when we were filming a class, or maybe it was the last fair, I was saying, well, your device at home must go off all the time. You have to think of another name. And I was like, oh, you can actually change. You can make a computer or something else. She never told me her name wasn't Alexa. And she was just feeding me into this story that was totally unnecessary.
How do you gracefully tell someone, hey, that's not my name? Like,
just do it.
That's such an abrasive thing to like remind someone, like, hey, you got that completely wrong.
No, I have one client. I did that 5 times. Told him, no, this is my name. This is my name. I finally gave up. You know who I am. Let's rock and roll.
I'm the chick with the little tiny dicks. You know who I'm good.
There you are.
Now, out of context, that probably sounds really crazy for anybody watching.
Oh yeah, yeah, because that's definitely a whole different connotation of chicks with dicks.
Well, we have Sabrina joining us, Michelle, Mike, Kristen from South Carolina. Hello. Jeannie, Marlene. Hey, Marlene and her yummy jellies. So the question is, what are we doing? So this is where you get to pick our brains, anything under the metaphysical umbrella except for free reading. So one of the things that we thought that we might start with, because this was a good conversation I was having towards the end of our fair, was as readers and healers, the professionalism compared to like some of these TV shows where like I don't know if we really want to say the name of some of them because copyright and legality, but you see readers just randomly going up to people and like, your dead father has this to say to you.
Oh, you mean like the offshore medium? I mean psychic?
Sure.
That's that wink.
And having that conversation with the client, like, no, any message that, we're striving to give for you, for one, permission's been given because you actively want to sit with us, and anything should be in a healing way, and to just walk up to somebody on the street and just start running your mouth. Unless maybe if one of you guys feel differently, but
well, I've even had people do that on like Instagram. Like I'll follow, different pages and stuff like that, and I'll have healers message me. And the first message sounds very genuine, like, "Oh, hey, I looked at your page. It looks great. Feel like we have a lot in common." Hey, by the way, I'm getting this message, and I really think you need to like start paying me for my services because it's like, or not. Thanks.
That sounds like one of those county fair psychics where you go in for 10 minutes and you pay them, and then they go, by the way, another $20, I'll light a candle for you and pray.
Because you're going to need it. It's like,
right. Oh, and then I can tell you more about the problems that are going to be occurring, or you get some stressors. We really want to deflect all the evil.
Like what evil? You're the only one perceiving evil, I guess there's maybe new to me because I don't have cable. I'm not home long enough to enjoy cable. But I guess there's a gentleman where he goes up to people's doors, knocks on the door, and gets some sort of item and draws pictures. And
JD, stop it.
JD, stay home.
That's a good way to get shot.
I can't believe you just outed me on camera like that.
Yeah, like Laura said, or the people, and there are a couple in the Cleveland area, the whole "you have a curse on you and pay me and I'll remove it." And a lot of them will say, like, if you're female, then it's every female in your family, or every male in your family, and it's hundreds of dollars, just no and don't. But I mean, if anybody has questions on how that works, or what, is the more professional way to do this besides just randomly walking up to people, feel free to ask us, ask anything. This is just like a topic opener, and mainly because it was a conversation I had with a client towards the end of the day. And, she didn't realize, really, you shouldn't do that.
That we don't just solicit you.
Right. Like, maybe we can see your dead grandma standing over there. I'm not going to walk up to you and be like, hey, your grandma's right there.
I think it's dangerous enough when I have clients come in and they want to sit together. Listen, it's up to you. That's cool. It's your reading, but I'm going to tell you right now that the cards are not going to hide anything because your friend's here, and I don't know what they're going to say. I'm just going to interpret what I read. I'm going to give you the best of my ability. If it outs you, it outs you. I don't know.
I love
now,
when
who's had a client be outed?
Well, not like that.
I did get to have on Saturday. I had somebody come to me that something in the reading was kind of telling me like there was something that this person was dealing with that definitely had to do with their sexuality and how they viewed themselves. And I got to kind of tiptoe around it a little bit before I was like, hey, I'd like to ask you a question. If you don't like it, you don't have to answer, we'll move right along. But ask your friend here. They should leave before I ask you this question, though. And then he laughed. He's like, oh, no, I'm not totally straight. I get it. You're good. But it was that moment of like, it wasn't like concerning the full reading, but it was definitely like adjacent to it. And there was an arc we had to take to get to that point. It's like, how do I gracefully say this to you without your friend figuring out what we're talking about?
As a general rule, I will forget a reading within like 10, 15 minutes after I'm done. I mean, it belongs to the client, not me, so I don't keep it.
Yeah.
But I've got, every once in a while, you get that one that you can't get rid of.
Mm.
And when I had these 3 girls, high school, early college, I don't know. They came and sat down. And I'm reading the cards. The other 2 are sitting in the back going, you're busted, you're busted, you're busted. Because they're like, no, that ain't me. And they're going, yeah, it is. But when I got to the 3rd one, I started into the reading, and I was like, all right, you 2, bye. I don't care what she has to say about it yet. She can tell you about it if she wants to later. And kicked them both out of the reading area because that girl was going through some heavy stuff that she was hiding for everything she was worth.
Mm. And it's good that you were able to see that and help protect her in that way.
It was tough, but I told her, I says, the power is yours. When this is said and done, this is one of them superhero movies where the little mouse in the corner is either going to be the arch villain or superhero. You get to choose. You just have to decide.
Mm-hmm.
But it was bad.
So Angela has a question. She's like, what advice can you give to someone who is new to getting a reading? Do I need to prepare in any way? What about the best way to form a question? Like open-ended? Probably not open-ended. Who wants to answer first?
I will. Only because I'm usually the one that I get all the newbies. So let me start with this. Be open to all the information. I always look at a reading as proof. Prove to me that I'm talking with spirit. Give me something that connects me to the person who's in front of me. And usually the cards are just the catalyst for me to connect with you. And sometimes, almost every time, I will get something very specific to the person that's sitting in front of me that ties me into their situation. And it may be the situation itself, it may be just the words that I use happen to be exactly what they needed to hear or have heard before, something that they were thinking. Just be open to the message. The other thing is to remember that you have the ability to change what's happening. So yes, you're seeing the big picture right then. It's like taking a photograph of your life. If you walk out the door, and we just talked about this too before that we started, you can walk out that door and make a conscious effort to prepare yourself of what the universe has, is getting ready to deal you. Be flexible and, if you want to make a change and turn a different way, go for it. I'm not stopping you, but at least you have the information. You're armed with the information.
Anybody else want
My
to?
big thing, if you come to the table, is if you're coming looking for information, cool, prep that in your head. But I don't want it when you sit down. When you sit down, don't feed me. Because I want, you're going to know whether or not I'm reading for you or not by what I'm telling you. Don't feed me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
After I've completed the primary reading, then it's question time. If your question wasn't answered in the primary reading, then ask me. And different readers will have different styles. Mine is ask me directly, and don't even be embarrassed about it, because I'm going to read yes, no, short answer, and I'm going to tell you what you got.
I don't want to know anything.
Actually, regarding that with JD, like one of your clients, like right after they got the reading, they're coming over, they're talking to their daughter. She's like, "It was so good, it was so accurate." And she's like, "What did you tell him?" She's like, "Nothing, just my name." And she was like, just blown away by the accuracy of what she wrote up for the picture. So just a testament to that. You don't necessarily need to know anything, but at the same time, it's so important. If you came with a specific thing in mind,
Right.
at some point ask, because psychic doesn't mean mind reader.
Right.
So,
and really the question and the specificity is very important in healing work too. And I would have to say for Hank and Maria, myself, like, to really get to the root of the problem and take care of it.
As far as
go ahead. We'll do the questions.
As far as healing work is concerned, I don't want people to come in and tell me, well, this is what's wrong with me. I went to the doctor for this. No, let me scan you. And then let me, between the scanning and the messages that I get, I know exactly where to pinpoint what I need to do, because that's how I approach my healing work. Do not come and tell me this is what I was diagnosed at, this is what I have. No, I don't want to know. Let me scan you. Let me do what I was trained to do.
and I vary between clients. Some clients I'll ask them what's going on, and other ones I know I just need to start, and I kind of play it based on the energy. And sometimes I might ask the question, if you could get anything out of today, what would it be? And like, that's the target. And then starting to say, okay, where's the heaviness and where's the limitation that prevents that from showing up right now? And then just diving in. But it really, for me, it varies how I do it each time. Mm-hmm. I'm very consistently inconsistent.
Well, I think the consistency is like what's best for the client. And everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I usually always try to remind people, like I do the stereotypic, like Al-Anon AA thing, like, hey, take what you like, leave the rest. You're gonna get out of this what you put into it with me. I usually try to remind them that, like, this isn't gonna solve your problems. This isn't gonna be one of those things where, like, I say something that's earth-shattering for you. This is one of those things that your paradigm should shift just a little bit. I shouldn't be telling you something that you have to, like, work towards, or it shouldn't be a cryptic thing. There's going to be things that we'll say that don't make sense to us as the reader. There's a lot of stuff we talk about, like, I hope this works for you. But a lot of it is just reminding the client that, like, if there's nothing specific that you want to focus on, just being open to whatever cards get turned over and whatever your reader tells you, here's what I picked up on, here's what I saw. Because you didn't kind of point me in a direction, so your reader base went this way. And you just get to follow them now.
So Faith has a question, and maybe this is more for Elias. Can you talk about the similarities and differences between using tarot versus the runes? And Hank, I know you've dabbled with runes before years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, runes for me as a reading tool are still in development. I'm using 3 rune pulls in conjunction with my primary spread. The tarot are much more detailed, but the runes will present very significant portions of the message or guidance as to where you want to go if you want to change these the current path, current outcome path. And that they'll give you very nice directions on what you can expect. When I first learned my runes and everything, I kept them primarily for spell work. All of the world is contained within the runes, but they are very much available for oracle reading and such. But to get the big detail out of rune reading, there's actually different boards, patterns, so that as in just throwing the bag, they'll give you detailed information on different areas of your life as it's currently going on. So I'm aware of that, but I'm not practiced in it. The 3 rune pulls are very, very much complementary to my primary reading. The tarot in and of itself is, like I said, the tarot doesn't hold back. They're not just going to give you a big picture. They're going to tell you specific things that you need to be aware of. That's been my experience.
So like one's kind of more macro, one's kind of more micro in a way.
Good wording. I like that. Yeah, the tarot would be more micro, and you get a macro picture out of the tarot or out of the runes.
So Heather has a question of, how do you know what type of reading is best for you?
Whichever reader you walk into the shop and keep staring at, go to that one.
Yeah, I think it's usually the person, not the reading.
Yeah.
For myself too. Like whoever has the medicine for you, you just kind of notice them a little bit more than the others, and that's what you go with.
It depends on the day. So I'm a fan of trying all the readers, not all at once, and then taking the best message for the day. But a different day, a different reader, or a different month, a different reader. Everyone has something to offer, and you're going to find what works for you in the moment. So one day it might be going to see Hank and getting some type of music back, or seeing Maria and getting that chronic healing. Going a little bit to Dick's, going to see Alex, right? We're even getting a drawing from this guy right here. It really does depend. I mean, honestly, it does depend on what it is. I suggest coming to our psychic fairs. I suggest coming to. Are we doing a winery event, by the way? Just saying. I mean, you don't have to announce it in your house.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I'm just thinking, once a year, everybody needs to go and have Alexa get dicks thrown out of my Alexa. It just seems like something it's an experience that has to be had.
She doesn't throw
that
them
meme,
at you.
throw the hot dogs, except it's the hand throw.
Oh, stop it! Stop!
Don't make me figure out how to make that video.
Right.
So back to the question. Whatever reading you feel is good for you that day. Just
I mean, unless you specifically know and hope that you want to talk to like somebody who's crossed over. But even then, we'll have more than one reader at a time, at least during the fair. And it's kind of like, well, then which one do you feel drawn to? Go there.
But you said that
normally
mediums. The 1-800 dial the dead does not work. It's out of order. It's whoever shows up.
Due to COVID.
Yeah, due to COVID, what is
Due to COVID, the relative you were trying to reach.
Social distancing has taken on a whole new level.
Let's see. So our next question is, any advice on what to do if you have nightmares and dreams that manifest in your life? So I guess maybe the question would be, are the nightmares, like, are they manifesting too, or are they just an unfortunate like occurrence and then other dreams are manifesting in your life? Maria, do you want to jump in on that one? That seems more of like a healing thing. More than
healing thing. Okay. First of all, don't feed into it. If you get into the fear, if you start getting into your fear and then you start really thinking about it, trying to analyze it, you're feeding into it. You're bringing more of it into your life. I have a protocol for pranic psychotherapy. I have a protocol where after a while, when you start feeding, you will get these entities attached to you, and they will be your buddy. And I do have a protocol for that, for pranic psychotherapy. But nightmares, everybody goes through fears, everybody goes through worry, everybody goes through that, and then the nightmares comes up where, hey, there's something you need to pay attention to. There's something that you really need to. And so instead of going way deep into the negative part of it and feeding more of it, say, okay, what is a lesson here that I need to learn? What do I need to do to flip this over? So it's a little bit more involved, but the nightmare is coming up because there's something that's not settling, that you're not even dealing with during the day.
And something to add to that too, as you fall asleep, you could ask. You'll find I'm big on questions because questions create awareness. Awareness create more space for choice. But as you fall asleep, just ask what beings of light, angels, guides, and teachers can be with me now to only bring the highest and best for me and things that I have the ability to change. And if there's not something I can change, I don't need to know about it. And like just setting that intention can have a huge shift in how you experience your dream state. And if that's doesn't sound light for you, you could also start just by gridding the bedroom with like crystals and things like that to raise the vibration, so that if there are entities and things like that, that they can't cohabitate in that space anymore, and then you'll have a more peaceful sleep. So just 2 ways you might be able to go about just shifting that so it's not a problem anymore.
And with the combination of having dreams that manifest and/or nightmares, there's probably a lot more to that. We're kind of just skimming on the surface. That's like that'd be more something you'd want to discuss one-on-one with someone in detail.
Oh, and labradorite. My trusty labradorite. So that will help too. Setting this by your bedside underneath the pillow. Well, I mean, unless you want to fling it across the room at night, throw it at the ghosties, but no, labradorite is good for dream work.
Well, and it builds on what Hank was saying, like with the idea of gridding, which I not want to speak on gridding because I don't know it well enough to explain it. But just any type of intention, like before you go to bed, whether it's saying a prayer, lighting a candle for a few minutes, or however, whatever your thing is. But doing something with intention to bring positive energy or understanding.
Yeah, and the crystals and things, that's just a physical representation of intention, plus the bonus if it's a crystal or labradorite or whatever it is that you're looking to do. And then the other question is, if you were to sleep in a hotel or someone's house, is it still happening? Is it a problem with the land? Would a house clearing possibly shift something? So there's like a lot of questions you could drill down and kind of get to the root. Okay, what's really the cause? And now let's come up with a plan to take care of it.
A little bit of reading and research on psychic self-defense couldn't hurt.
So we'll swing back real quick because Heather was asking a little bit on deciding the type of reader, and then we'll go to Kristen's question. So Heather was like, some of the readers use cards, some do runes and drawings. How do I choose? Still go by the person. So that's where it would be helpful. Now, like, I answer this so many times during the psychic fair when they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, do you want to talk to somebody that's crossed over? Do you want a tangible reading? Then that's a drawing. Do you want to know about something that hasn't happened yet or that may? Like that can kind of help narrow it down a little bit, but I would say don't get wrapped up in the actual tools that the reader is using. It's what kind of information are you hoping or wanting to get? Never mind if it's a drawing, if it's runes, if it's cards, if it's penises. Like what? You know? Well, let's go by the information. You know, psychic, medium are like the two main. And a lot of times you'll hear me say, like, do you want to talk to dead people? That's your mediumship. Or your dead people that have crossed over. And then they go, well, no, I don't care. I'm like, well, then you want a psychic. And that could be any of these people.
And in the fair environment, a reading's just like $20. A lot of people get more than one, and they'll go to a couple different people. And even though they're using different tools or different methods to connect, the person's getting the same information, just in different ways. And so, especially in a fair situation, don't feel that you only can pick one and be done. You could get it from a couple different people and kind of, you know, get more validation around certain themes.
Right. And the beauty about a fair is that we're all busy working, so we don't have time to chit chat about, oh, did you see, you know, Heather came by and this is what her reading was. We don't have time to share information. We're getting it from source, and when Spirit decides to tell whatever they decide to tell us, we're getting little pieces and bits of what's happening in your life. So
we get,
that's the beauty of it.
Now
we get those validations after the show when we talk.
Yeah. Talks like this.
Yeah.
But real quick, I think Alexa should kind of speak to her reading, since it's the second reference we made to the stones. And someone who's new here might not have any idea what you're talking about.
All right. So the long and the short of it is we get to play with little tiny dicks. So I have, and I almost lost one today. I almost lost one of my little dicks today, and I was very sad because I counted them and went, we're missing someone. Panicked, went over to Melissa and went, oh my God.
We're missing someone.
I'm missing someone. Is Maria in that room? When she's out, I need to go look for him. So the band's all back together. They all live together. So basically what I've done is I've taken the concept of like throwing bones or divination, when you throw pieces or shells or runes or bones, and interpret out what you see from there. I have taken that and kind of split it into where I've got my divination pieces that I throw as my portion, and then on a anatomical Venus mat, I have my clients throw little gemstone penises. One that brings the masculine portion to the feminine portion, but it also, the gemstones are really hard to break, which is good. They can kind of take a good beating and not be damaged. But it's good, and then we kind of interpret out what we see based on where they land, what's layered on top of each other. There's a lot of giggling like there is now.
Oh, that's great. Your word choice is just out of this world. I love it.
But it's good because a lot of people, and I intentionally, when I set my tables up, I usually will put the little bag closest to the client. So they sit down and they immediately go, hi, yeah, and they go, and they're like, oh, I saw those. Yeah. I'm like, it's okay. That's what they're there for. But it's good. It's a good way for me to have the client literally throw a good chunk of their energy out at me somewhere where I can, okay, now I can pick it up and read it. Because as soon as they throw it out at them, I don't have to focus as much on them as much as I do, okay, they've imprinted enough here. What can I pull from here? What can I see out of this? And it's been good. I've had some really good success with it as far as I've not had anyone complain. So
I would have to imagine that by the time you get a client to pick up and throw a handful of dicks, you have already broken so many barriers that they would normally have up. That just makes the reading so much simpler from there.
Yeah, because it's one of those things. Like I think it definitely helps that. Thank God, my mother's a nurse. She's been a nurse her whole life. In my family, you didn't have boo-boos. You had injuries. We were always very anatomically correct. So saying things like penis and dick and cock and vagina and just like, I can say those words and it doesn't make me giggle or blush, because it's one of those like, we all have these body parts. We might as well talk about them. It's okay. I've discovered that that's where my cross section is. Not only do I like reading, but yeah, if you want to talk about your weird kink in the bedroom, sure, we'll talk about it. Sure. Shuffle that deck. We'll see what happens. Like,
there you go.
It's things like that I'm weirdly okay with. And usually I also remind people that whatever they say, whatever we do, stays between me, them, the cards, and the dicks. It stays between us. So
what happens in Alexa's room stays. And that's why you have a fake reading name. It keeps it even more private.
Right. That's it.
So, Kristen has a question. How would you encourage a youth who gets it? My 6-year-old shares random messages. I don't want to discourage him, but it's upsetting to some. Anybody wants to address that before I do?
I think you should start.
Yeah, take it, Melissa.
Definitely, definitely encourage it, but it's it would be a good time, like how we teach manners for young kids about sir, ma'am, asking permission, when it's okay to share, when to have boundaries. And, just start the gentle, like, don't run up to so-and-so and share certain information. Kind of like how you wouldn't want your little one to run up and be like, that's an ugly dress, but learning to gently kind of set the manners of what's appropriate to share. And maybe, every kid's different, but maybe saying something like, well, we don't want to make them feel bad, or because when you say upsetting, I'm assuming maybe from a deceased loved one or something that might be scary, like, oh my God, your car is going to hit a pole. And teach them to maybe rephrase, which is like one thing. And it's an example I use all the time. None of the readers are going to say, oh my God, you're going to have a car wreck. What my readers might say is, have you checked your tire pressure? Have you checked your brake? Let's do some good car maintenance, No, I don't want anybody to panic and go, oh my God, if they say this. And sometimes it really is just like, maybe grandpa from the other side wants you to take better care of your car.
Or pay attention more.
Yeah. So, don't discourage him, but help him. If you think about it as manners of dealing with live people about live people, we're just dealing with manners with a live person and a dead person. Like, what's okay to say and when is it not? Don't interrupt adults talking. Well, don't interrupt the adult's day with information they're unprepared to hear, because it is a permission thing, right? So if they're not asking for the message, you don't just walk up and verbally vomit stuff to them, because you don't know how they're going to take it if they didn't ask for it. Every kid's different, and hopefully it'll be not easy. Is any part of parenting ever easy? Mm-hmm. But helping to give guidance, I'm sure, any of us that have had kids, will help problem solve that out for you. Hank, are your little ones, have any of your boys started?
Oh, they're hey. But they don't do any of that. They don't go up to people or anything. But Oliver's extremely intuitive. From a random code for the Nintendo Wii, he just sits down, puts the code in, which was randomly generated from Nintendo, and starts playing. So he's definitely gifted, but they're not actively just weirding people out necessarily.
I would make the recommendation of encourage them to start a journal or a diary to document them, and even ask them to put in there what made them think of that, or what made that come up, or how did you get that, or just something open-ended that they can fill in the blanks of. And at the very least, it'll get them in a good habit of doing that. And years later, they can kind of look back, and I think it'll help with their growth and further it.
Mm-hmm.
When my kids was growing up and they started seeing a lot, I took them and I started talking to them a lot more, so they understand that they have something special that not everybody is okay with. So we had a lot of discussions when they were growing up, because they did see a lot of things and they did notice a lot of things that other people don't see. So I wanted my kids to understand it is okay that you're different and you have this ability, but yet again, set the boundaries that they can't just run up to a people and say, hey, guess what? Your dead mother is here. So we had a lot of discussions, we had a lot of talks, and as they started growing, they became very comfortable in knowing that there is a time when you can do that, and there's a time when you just kind of just let it wait out.
One more thing to speak about with kids, besides just being able to see dead people and things like that, they may just have awarenesses, especially if they're empathic, of other people's emotions and start to misidentify someone else's emotion as their own. And that's where it's really important to teach, like, well, is that you angry, or are you feeling someone else? And start, because I do that with Oliver especially a lot, because, like, are you really freaking out right now, or are you picking up on the guy next door? And that's a really key tool. I wish I had that growing up, and I didn't. Like, being able to distinguish what's yours and what's not.
This is all spectacular stuff. And I particularly like, go ahead and write it down, make a note of it somewhere instead of just telling the world about it. But obviously Mom is supportive. So it's like, tell the kid, if you think it's important or it disturbs you, then you bring it to me quietly, and I'll help you through it, and we'll figure it out, and we'll take the best possible steps. You might also consider showing them a couple of TV shows and going, don't do that.
Well, another
Not
thing,
this one. Not this one.
a 6-year might be a little bit young for this, but like, as I was stepping into like getting training and everything, my one teacher, Elaine Thomas from Fellowships, she would say, they're in our realm if they're talking to us, and you can set boundaries and they will listen. And to be able to say, unless it's something that's going to create a possibility that I eminently need to know, you don't come to me, or setting boundaries around that. So that's another important thing, because maybe then that will kind of subside, and they're going to be getting other like angels and things showing up that are going to just create a lot more lightness around the situation.
I mean, it's definitely important to support them and encourage, but do it in a very with like manners, which then, like, as an adult would be like the professionalism, the code of ethics of reading. But a lot of kids, like especially our ages and older, like that's kind of like a rule. Most kids are pretty tapped in on psychic in some sort, very much so. And then over time, it's no longer what it was, is like your invisible friend or your invisible, and you were told, like, well, stop it. Now it's time to grow up and quit doing that. And so, a lot of us and older learn to shut it down. And it's great that, you want to encourage him. So by all means, do it. Just, kind of set those boundaries to where, we're not upsetting others who are unprepared to hear that information. Even Marianne's reference for like little ones, like, don't, like, she'll say, like, that's fine, let them talk, but don't constantly, and not saying that you are, but don't constantly badger them for information too. Like, do you see anything? What about now? What about now? What about now? Because then the opposite will happen. They'll purposefully quit doing it.
Shut down.
So you'll leave alone.
Yeah, little Jimmy's really open. He reads people. So do you have a message for so-and-so?
The other thing is, document it for your child. Maybe they don't realize what they're doing. So just, have a little notebook with you and just write down a couple different notes. It could be that they are empathic. It could be that they have that mediumship ability that they didn't know that it was automatically turned on when they were born. Or other things that I've read or seen is that, are they talking about a past life experience? Because the younger they are, the more apt they are to talk about a previous life, because they're so close to it. And as they get older, they tend to get further and further away from that information. So just document as you go, and you'll get more clarification.
So, like, she had a follow-up about the most support that she's gotten so far is that she should go to some training academy or whatever.
Hogwarts?
Don't make fun of Hogwarts. There's the Grey School of Grey School of Wizardry is built on that premise.
Right.
My bad.
I mean, I don't know of any particular like empathic trading academy, but I will say, like, the shamanic program that myself and Hank and now Maria have gone through, like, that's my favorite thing. Besides the book, The Reluctant Empath, a lot of people have found a lot of useful information in that book. and I think it's like $20 at most. But the apprenticeship that we've gone through, like, it really does teach you to get a good idea of what is yours and what is somebody else's, how to deal with it, to where it's one thing I hear a lot in the store of so many empathic people coming in, and they're always on the side or the assumption that they have to constantly protect themselves. And let's face it, unless you're in a room by yourself all the time, you're going to be in this constant mode of protection, of trying to hold the world out. And this apprenticeship really helped deal with this, and like, okay, that is not mine, and I don't want to, I can observe it here and not bring it in, and I can also send it back away. Mm-hmm. So it gave a great place of empowerment and self-confidence on how to deal with that. And I'm sure that there's other practices that can teach you and your little one to do that as well. But it should all be, my opinion is, it should also like kind of give you the tools of how to protect yourself, but also to be able to stand in that point and not feel like you constantly have to run and protect yourself. You should be able to stand confidently and say, that's not mine, have it back. Or I'm going to leave it right here and not have to carry it around with me and not feel like, what stone, what this, can I protect myself? Honey, ain't none of them going to do it if you don't understand where your boundaries are. There's no rock in the world that will do it for you.
It's nice to have a good set of bat shields, but if they're up all the time, you're in a very lonely place.
Well, like going off of what Hank said, like teaching your children what's theirs and what's not, because my husband's an empath, and we're late realizing it, but he's like a sponge. He'll pick up whatever's going on, and then it's his, and it's a labor of love to get him to kind of ring out and go, was that really yours? I read a really cool article that a lot of child psychologists are actually doing what Hank does with his children. Is this yours? Is it someone else's? Using the Disney movie Inside Out. They're using the little standard emotional guys, joy, depression, anger, disgust. What's the fifth one? I can't remember the fifth one. He's cute and he's purple. Fear. And showing kids, like, here are some of the emotions you may be feeling. Is this one in your head, or is this one that maybe got out of someone else's head and kind of tapped on your door and went, hey, let me in? And you let him in. Like giving them that age-appropriate tool to realize that they're going to experience emotions and helping them recognize what's theirs versus what did they see that then made them feel afraid? Was it something around them that they saw, something that, did they just spend time with somebody who going off the rails internally, and maybe we've all walked into rooms where you can cut tension with a knife. It's that
not today.
Yeah, right. Kids can absolutely pick up on that. As adults, we're savvy enough to go, ugh, I'm gonna leave. Kids don't have that choice. Kids a lot of times will have to sit in environments like that, where the only thing they do is just sit there, and then it kind of sucks into them a little bit. So getting them to recognize that if they suddenly feel overwhelmed by an emotion, give it a name, say, here's what it is, and asking that emotion almost as a little person instead of like, hey, anger, sit down. I need you to stop. I need you to calm down. I need you to not yell as loud. Like giving them that power back over their own emotions, because it's going to help them start to differentiate what's theirs and what's someone else's that they've accidentally picked up.
Hey, do you know if any of our people in our apprenticeship, are they still doing training in West Virginia? She's in West Virginia.
I don't know of anyone. I can, if you message me on Facebook, I'm under the Sonic Shaman, or you can message my profile. But my teacher was from West Virginia, and he might have a lead for you, but offhand, I don't know of anyone. But I did find the link to the book you mentioned, Melissa. I'm going to post in the comments for people if you want to get that Reluctant Empath. It was like $17 on Amazon, so I'm shooting that out.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 in that series, but the Reluctant one's the first one, and a lot of people really like that one. So there was the question, and let me see, about how to find mentors to help you with your mediumship. One of the things you can do, we do on the first and third Tuesdays of the month, the Development Circle with Jim Flynn. It's $5 over Zoom. Right now, when we're allowed to be in person, we'll do it back in person again, but we're also looking at ways to keep Zoom incorporated for all of our friends that have joined us who are not local. And we concentrate on all things psychic, mediumship, remote viewing, automatic writing, all that fun stuff, because everybody works differently. So we want to make sure everybody gets some sort of benefit, and the activities will change week, session to session. Otherwise, there's things like Lilydale and Fellowship of the Spirit, who have classes, and
Lilydale has a lot of programs. I personally trained at Fellowships of the Spirit in Lilydale. It's one of the programs there. They have spiritual insight training, which is like a weekend, spiritual insight training 2. And then for people who really want to take the deep dive, I did the 2-year program. And it's phenomenal. I haven't taken another one, so I can't compare them, but I know everybody that I know that's gone through it has had just amazing results and love the experience that they had.
And I mean, and it's reasonably priced considering how many hours of training you're getting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, and take classes too. If there's a certain topic that interests you, even if it's not related to music, take a class, because you're going to run into people that are also taking a class that they'll have things to teach you. They might be really keen on a certain aspect that you're curious enough about, and you kind of start to grow your community that way. Like I know I've used several classes at the shop just to build community, just to meet people that I could talk to specifically about these topics, because I don't have anyone else to talk to them about. So taking classes on topics that are adjacent to mediumship, but also things that you're interested in, you're going to start pulling in those people in your circle that you can kind of start going, hey, can you teach me more about that thing you just said you do?
One other thing with spiritualists, sorry, Melissa. In actual spiritualism, it's all about the spirit. And it's been evolving, but there's a lot of programs. Fellowship's not among them. Fellowship's teaches go to source first, get the message, reinforce with spirit. Because if you're connecting with astral level grandpa who was an a-hole, and he's still an a-hole in spirit, you don't want that message, you want source, right? So they teach go to source, reinforce with spirit. Where traditional spiritualists, it's about proving the continuity of life. It's about the spirit and not necessarily about the healing. So depending on your goal with what you want to train for, make sure that the whole program is aligned in that way.
So Lisa, yeah, you're out of state. So I mean, we have our Zoom, but I think Fellowship, weren't they doing some other classes like online too?
They have a lot of online classes. And then I have a friend, her name is Angie, who at Apt, her site is Holistic Well, if you just type in Angie and Santosha, you'll find it. But she has a whole online mediumship program, and we're working on a collaboration where I'll teach like healing and she'll teach mediumship, possibly under Transcendent Minds, which is something with me and Melissa.
I was going to say,
yeah. Oh, yes, I was throwing it out there. Yeah, Melissa and I have some things in the cooker with that, but she already has like an online mediumship program that's like over a longer period of time that's intense, and she trained at Fellowships. I mean, she was already mediumistic before that, but then she got additional training at Fellowships, just like me. I was always intuitive, and then I became a professional drinker to medicate. And then when I got sober, I got training so I wouldn't go crazy, right? So that would be a great resource. Angie, I'll look for the website and post it. I'll get it for you.
Which is another fun, slight topic offshoot. There's previous topics or talks that you can go back and watch on the store's YouTube channel of spirituality and sobriety. And we kind of touched on one that was like magic and sobriety, which, Alexa, we might have to put another date in with Brittany, because there were a lot of people.
That was such a good talk. That was a great conversation.
And Brittany's so fun to talk to. So Catherine in North Carolina, her question's kind of long, so I won't put it up only because it'll take up the whole screen, kind of. But she's looking for tips on opening the third eye again, and she feels like in trying to learning to set that boundary with her empathy of not shutting down her psychic ability while that hard wall that comes down, unfortunately. So if anybody wants to touch on like third eye psychic ability, besides the development circle, because that would also be something to help.
Well, I guess I'll say something.
Like anybody? Hello.
This kind of ties into both of them because like where I kind of got my start, and I don't have much formal training in anything, was like a meditation group. And that was through a spiritualist church. And just kind of from there, you just like a general networking with people you talk to, then they introduce you to other people. And eventually that's how I wound up the combination. It just kind of, a lot of times, especially if you're seeking your path and you take a few steps, or at least a step towards that, other things will fall into place and it just builds from there. So things like what's it called again? The developmental circle. That's it.
Clearly, JD does not participate.
I'm a visual guy. The words thing, not always great. So yeah, any kind of stuff like that, because once you start to open up, then you kind of you'll recognize people that are meant to be in your path easier. So it's just kind of, it creates like a magnetism almost. So it kind of comes into place. And then as you start to get your feet dipped in the water, you can look at going to more formal training, or, you know, any of the workshops going on at the shop or anywhere else, you know, things like that. And that's also kind of like for me, you know, I got started that way, but you know, the progress was, you know, steady. I was opening up, but it didn't really change until I had my first Reiki attunement. And I don't generally do a lot of Reiki anymore. It never became a main focus for me. But when I got attuned, that's when my intuition just really popped and things were just coming really clear.
Also, I want to add to that it's very important to do it slowly. Do not jump, you know. I started off doing meditation. I was part of meditation circles. I did that for a long time. And then when I was ready and I had intuitive know that I was ready, I actually did seek out a training program. And I came across a training program where I thought it was just starting to deeper meditation. It was actually opening up your third eye, creating a lab in your third eye, and astral traveling. It was just so many things happening all at once. So take it slow. The development circles actually are really good. If you have not started doing anything yet, you know, start off doing the development circles.
I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever read about like starting to develop your intuition and actually trusting that voice in your head is you have to first give yourself permission to be wrong and to mess up. That if you go into it going, if I don't get it right the first time, yeah, of course you're going to get it wrong the first time. It's okay. Like, you know, it's a lot of, basically it's like any other skill that you hone. The first time you step into it, of course you're not going to be able to do what other readers do at shops and things like that. Like you just started out. Giving yourself permission to fail, giving yourself permission to mess up every now and then, that's great. You're going to. It's okay. One of the better advices I also like, I mean, and I can just relate it back to tarot because it's what I know the most, is that it's always, books are great, research is great. Don't always rush to that resource to help you explain what it is you're looking at. Give yourself a moment and go, what do I think this means? What do I feel like this I'm looking at? Give that voice time to start to kind of talk a little bit, then go look at the resource and kind of see, because the more and more you trust that inner voice, the more and more you give yourself permission to go, all right, I'm listening, talk louder. The more you're going to learn that voice is going to get a little bit more accurate. And then as that voice becomes more accurate is when you get into like what Maria said, is you start to grow your ability. And then you really start to find your path, and you really start to find whatever it is you've actually been called to do.
And along the way, the confidence in your ability.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why the circle, I think, works so well, because we have people that have been coming for years, and everybody's at a different ability level. So don't worry about that. It's the constant practice, which is the key importance. You know, there's at least twice a month that you're actively trying and you're actively practicing. You can read all the books you want and you can meditate all you want, but unless you actually try, you're not going to develop anything. It's like a muscle, right? I can read all the books about running that I want, and I still hate running unless I get out there and do it and get my cardio in and get the form right. And yes, I really do hate running. But can you tell?
If something's not you shouldn't be running.
Right. Like if you see me running, I'm probably cussing the whole time too. But I mean, you can do little things in the meantime, like when the phone rings, don't look at the caller ID. Is it male or female? How often are you getting that right? And the more you practice it. And then it's male. Who do you know that's male that's calling?
How about, hey, I got one better for you. How about you start thinking about someone to make them call you?
That's a little bit farther down the line.
That's more advanced. That's a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
Well,
get a deck of cards. Get a deck of playing cards. Is it red? Is it black? Is it red? Is it black? It's red. Is it heart or diamond? I got a kid in here that I need to take to the damn casino. And I would just be making shit tons of money. But, now that he's 17 and it's not a video game, it's dumb and you won't do it. But, this was a kid that would get 50 out of 52 cards right. But little things like that keep that muscle working.
Or even just the act of posing the question to yourself and seeking an answer. That tiny step can open up worlds if you do it consistently and let it grow from there.
Mm-hmm. So the development circle, Angela, is for anybody of any ability level. Actually, some of my readers, I have pulled out a development circle. I'm like, well, why are you sitting here and not doing this? But they will still come because it's practice. And none of them are going to look at you and go, why are you here? Everybody is learning and everybody is strengthening different skill sets in the psychic ability. Everybody has the gift. It's just
how you use it.
Under that umbrella, how is your gift? Everybody can draw. Everybody can create art. Is it music? Is it painting? Is it acrylic? Is it, chalk? Is it
poetry?
Everybody has a psychic gift. Just how does yours work?
And really important, don't compare yourself to other people.
No.
Your gift is your gift.
Yes.
Some of us see, some of us hear. You can develop the other ones, but oftentimes I think people get discouraged because they see some medium on TV and think that that's how it works, but there might be clear cognizant, and it just comes to them as a knowing. There's no spirit or anything, and then they don't trust it as much. And not to compare is a huge thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Melissa.
Magic, respecting where it comes from. I used to always joke because my older brother was born with the birthing sac, the caul on his face. In a lot of Gaelic folklore, babies that are born like that are supposed to have magic abilities. They're supposed to be touched by fae. It's this is so cool. My brother is the of black and white. There is no spirituality. There is no religion. Everything is quantified. He's an engineer. And I thought, what a waste. What a waste. He doesn't have magic in him. He understands physics. He understands the intricate, tiny little works of statics and and then he goes, yeah, this is kind of fun. It's damn, I can't do that. I don't know anybody else that can. It's respecting that person's magic, respecting the fact that that's their gift and that's where they've carved their little niche into the world. Because ultimately, all of us can do something. All of us have something to offer and to give. It's just, again, giving yourself permission to go, this is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is.
Mm-hmm. This is mine, and this is how I do it, and this is why it works for me. Mm-hmm. So Gina was saying something startled me out of a deep sleep, like a buzzing, and someone mentioned it could be my third eye opening. Could be.
It could be. I think it was somebody communicating.
That's where I was going to, actually.
Exactly what I picked up on. Poke, good morning, wake up, I got something to tell you.
Because, spirit communication is different for every single person. Mm-hmm. So it might sound like buzzing for you. It could be something different for somebody else. I mean, that's a cool thing about psychic, but also the most difficult thing about psychic. It's not the same for every single person. Even with pendulums, yes and no can swing one way for me, and it'll swing a different way for Joan. It'll do nothing for Alexa. And, for
and
all
it doesn't do anything for me. How did you know?
Psychotic, right?
Get mine to talk.
Me too.
Right? Or, people like me that I can make other people's pendulums move, so I don't play with them. It's different. It's just taking the time and the discipline to figure out what, Joe?
Never mind. You're like, over here. I'd be like, all right, come on, just move. And Melissa's over there going, move that way. Move.
She really wants a yes, so we're going to make it go in a circle.
Yeah. Really great.
But yet I can't make a car move out of my way on the highway. There's a reason for that.
Oh, but you know what? You can always try to make the lights turn green. Driving through the city. Come on, green light. I see a green light, and keep driving. You know, keep talking to your green lights.
It is easier to get into that motion, that irony. Hank and Maria know it. To find that perfect flow to where you just hit every green light anyway without trying to change them. You find that pace to move.
And that's a brilliant metaphor for any of this, really, I think. Is finding that, your current.
Oh my goodness, it's already after 9.
Yeah.
That went by quick.
Flies.
It does. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I think we're all kind of tired because we had that pretty busy psychic fair day.
Good day.
And we'll do it again on the 28th of March. Right? I got it right this time. Last time I was so off on the date. The last Sunday of the month from 1 to 5. So stop in, see us if you're out of state. I think just about all my readers can do phone or distance or Zoom if you need. So don't hesitate to reach out. We'll get you lined up. We'll get you connected.
I can do distant healing.
Yep.
I have done distant healing. Come on, Melissa. I had someone on the phone do a distant healing.
Don's done it. I've watched Don do it, where someone has called him and he's just started pulling cards out of his head without a deck in his hand. It's like, how are you doing that, buddy?
Leave it to Don. He pulls cards out of his head. He gives people fake names.
He's a troublemaker.
He is. Well, that's why Greg wanted to know why him, you, Alexa, and JD were all on the other side. And I'm like, well, I had to put my problem children over there and let Alexa keep you in line. No. He goes, well, how come Don's over here? I'm like, he is so naughty. I have to keep him right here.
Just to clarify, on the other side, that does not mean that they've crossed over. These are all corporeal people. I literally have a holistic center on the opposite side of the wall of Goddess Elite, so we let the readers spread out. But when you say they're on the other side, it's like, I just corporealize for the fair, and then I'm off.
It's not like we're in the corner trying to come through.
It's the psychic fair kids table.
Yeah. And then I walk in and I'm like, Melissa, am I being banished to the other side? And she goes, well, yeah, someone's got to keep him in line and call the cops if things go wrong. I'm like, I'm not calling the cops, but I'll videotape it for TikTok. How's that?
There you go.
That's great.
Sometimes she's the innocent one.
He's got the west side. He's got the west side versus the east side. So we're on the east side, they're on the west side.
West sword.
We were well behaved today, though.
Yeah, no, like Hank, next time just let it ride the other side. Like, it sounds so much more mysticism.
It does.
We're just the cool kids on the other side.
But I could just see the person looking at them going, but they look so real.
Are these dead?
Look, my third eye's opening. I can see these dead psychics.
No, it's just that we're all that good. That's what it is.
So maybe next time we'll let like Elias and Joan go over to Hank's office and they'll keep JD in the corner, side, like the naughty person that he is. Sit with her and behave.
I like the development center. It's peaceful over there. It's really nice. Because we get a good bit of foot traffic as well, but it's not a lot, like, especially when the shop's busy. Like,
yeah,
the buzzing energy that the shop gets, trust me, there's nothing like it. But at some point in time, you will reach a threshold where you're like, I gotta go outside for a sec. Because there's so many people and there's so much energy buzzing, and it's a good it's a great feeling. It's just at times like, wow, this is a lot. I'd like a quiet moment, please.
It actually happened today, real quick, because where I was at, I was actually picking up other conversations. That was between me and you, Maria. So there's that place where people can sit with Buddha and sit with Saraswati. I had conversations going over there. I had the person right in front of me trying to really concentrate. Of course, here's all they see, and then they're hearing stuff, so you'll see the lips moving. And we're sitting 6 feet apart. They're trying to hear me. I'm trying to hear them. We're having this conversation, and I'm really trying to focus, and I'm getting all of this other stuff coming from other areas. It makes it a little bit more difficult, but it also makes me work harder so that I can get the better message and at least get it across to you. So yes, to say that the energy was buzzing, it certainly was today.
You're always welcome at the kids' table if you need a break.
Hey, you know what? I'm on the west side.
West side versus east side. We'll have to make that like a little meme or something.
This needs to
Maybe
be
like what is it? The Jets versus what is it in West Side Story?
Jets and Sparrows.
Oh,
was
I
it?
don't know.
Something like I can't remember.
Can't
But
remember.
What did you know, Elias?
Sharks.
oh, Jets and the Sharks.
Yes, that's what it is.
I think we're taking this to a whole new level here. I don't know.
I do see a comment about we can change the traffic lights in the movie The Cracks. Now, see, she's going down the line that I wanted to talk about. We'll do this another conversation where we talk about movies and TV shows that represent magic and represent all things that we do.
As a witch, I have comments, so yes, please, I want to be part of that conversation.
All right.
You know what, Hank? We'll have to, like, at the start of the next psychic fair, you and I are going to stand on the sidewalk in front of the store. We're going to have the readers out in front of us, and it's going to be like dodgeball, PE.
Yes!
You take the readers. Who's on my team?
No, I think my people
Count the
like
tickets
my
at the
side.
end. Who had more?
Last.
Well, we're always going to be outnumbered because we only had 4 people on my side.
You had Greg.
The best.
We did have Greg, but Maria
We
was
had
like
the Greg.
solid. Yeah.
I'm still gonna make
Don't
that.
tell Greg
stick.
I said that, because then his ego will get even bigger. No, he's a very gifted psychic medium. All the readers are, because everybody has to do an interview read in order to be associated with the store, which at times people make it sound like it's so nerve-wracking to do, and I didn't.
Oh yeah, it's not intimidating at all to have Melissa sit across from you, stone wall, going, "Go
With that
on."
look.
Yeah.
It's like,
Show me
No.
something.
okay.
I mean, was it that bad, Elias? Was it that nerve-wracking?
No, I actually prefer that because I'm going to give you what I've got. I don't. Like I said, I don't want you to feed me. Once I've gotten done with it, now you tell me whether or not you're happy with me.
Yeah, it was kind of like what are those memes where they reach over and they like touch you? They're like, shh. That was like Elias, like, shh. Don't tell me anything. And I'm like, oh,
Okay.
a little confident here in what he's got. But no, yeah, everybody has to do their interview read, and we have turned people away. So we don't just let anybody in. They have to have the right kind of shenanigans to read at our store. To carry the flag, the Goddess Elite flag.
Well,
there was
got a silver flag.
I should have a flag made. JD, get on that. I need a flag. The artist here.
Well, you already got the design. You just need to order
Yeah.
it. I'm sure you
Yeah.
can.
Great. But
Like-
then the next winery event will look like a medieval fair.
Oh, that would be so.
Gotta
cool.
Oh, that would be
With,
cool.
like coats of arms
That
and
would be
stuff. Ooh.
What if we all did
Oh,
flags?
now it's themed.
That would be
The
killer.
Chinese side? Oh, sorry.
We could do that. We could do houses under the banner of Goddess Elite.
I think we're going to need a bigger plot than the winery at this point. Because
We're definitely going to need a bigger boat.
Gotta
so
salute
are we
that
gonna,
side.
like, fight as readers when you like throw tarot cards and pendulums back and forth and
Wait a minute, the Fantod deck. Speaking of throwing tarot cards,
the fans throw that up in the air.
Oh, we gotta start making videos. I just have so many ideas.
I've got a bunch of TikTok ideas too. I just need a day at the store to be set free.
Oh, we should do that. We should do that like
Just
next time.
any day.
We should do like psychic wars. We're just like throwing tarot cards at each other.
Quick,
Well,
which
Jake already
stone is good
said-
for banishing negativity? Any of them, as long as you throw it hard enough.
And you have a good aim.
Yeah, right.
I think I would win because I'm bringing tuning forks and throwing them.
you know what, like
Those might even be
Wolverine,
worth
he
the
can
start
hold it in his.
Oh, that's how I look.
Shots as you start slinging runes around the shop.
No joke.
You're
I
like
think I've had
Hank
14
tuning
forks
fork hands. Instead of
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands, you're Hank tuning fork hands because you get them all in one hand and they're sticking out everywhere. Like aim for the eyes.
We should take a
Have we
picture.
all
that
noticed
way.
how Maria has like judiciously abstained from all of this nonsense?
She's definitely the adult in the room.
Yes. Now, if we had Grandma in her place, then
Oh my
Grandma
gosh.
would be instigating even worse.
Let grandma on the cam. Let grandma on the cam.
Right.
The grand
Grandma.
cam.
Grandma.
The
She was
grand
supposed to be there
cam.
today, but she wasn't feeling good. So then tell her I feel neglected and that she's avoiding me. I feel ghosted by Grandma.
Looky here.
You look at here.
Looky here.
Up your wrinkles, honey. So far we have the October Psychic Fair per JD should be Tim Burton themed. So all the readers are going to be dressed as something Tim Burton-esque. Yes. And now what? The winery's going to turn into a medieval fighting fair for the readers? Is that what we have going?
Oh, we could do it medieval too. I didn't even think of that. We could like do the whole get up.
Please.
I got garb. I used to be doing all the SCA stuff, so
I got Renfrost and Penzic friends. Let's do this.
I have enough.
My wardrobe's not going to be able to handle this.
Walking around like a black drape and just call you like, you know, the shadow man in the corner or something like that. Like there's an easy way to get yourself in here.
Right.
So I always wear black. I may as well just get the cloak and scythe and go.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, see, normally I'm like the pimp of the readers. I don't know how this is going to translate into medieval style pimp.
You're the
man of the house.
Exactly. That's it. Exactly. Do a medieval pimp.
You're the court herald. You're the one announcing all of us as we walk in.
Be like the madam of the brothel, the brothel of readers.
We have big giant turkey legs.
We might have to contact like the Geneva Medieval Fair first before we go to the winery at this point.
Okay, y'all do anything this weekend? Come hang out.
So yeah, I haven't bothered even contacting the winery for June just because of the whole COVID thing and whether or not we're going to be able to do this. So I'm hoping for September. Since the winery being a food establishment and they're under tougher restrictions than we are, I haven't even bothered trying that yet. Just I can already hear them, no. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, hundreds of people in 5 hours. There's no way to social distance that and keep their, that legal. We don't want them getting in trouble because they're our friends. So, all right. Well, I think what we wrapped up for the night. Does anybody have any last minute parting words of wisdom?
Do your taxes because March is coming up, and after March is April. So do your taxes, by the way. Yeah. That's just your PSA for the day.
Yeah, you save the day with the ending. Like I'm like, oh, we're gonna...
Or
that'll leave on a high note.
So Sandra says we should storm the winery. Let us in. We're gonna take it over. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining.
Somebody from the winery is probably watching this, and tomorrow
and just losing their mind.
They're like, we don't want you guys coming back.
I know there's just too much, craziness. So.
We've seen enough.
But there's
I think they're used to our shenanigans. I mean, this past year was the first year we haven't been out there. It's been how many years? Like 7 or 8, something like that.
Yeah,
they're used to our shenanigans. They put up with this pretty well, I think. But Hank, you would have to come back and join us because you haven't been to the last couple that we were.
Yeah, well, I could bring forks or something. I usually avoid the wineries because like the energy of the drunk people. Like at the beginning, it's cool, everybody's like sober and things, and then they're like, "Hey, well, you're gonna help me." It just goes downhill.
Pop him in the head with a fork, like, sit down.
Go bring the fork. I'll bring a glass.
What I need is I have to figure out the frequency for sobriety. So like they sit down and then I'm like, bing, and that's totally sober for my work, and then they can go back and drunk again.
Ooh, and the winery might pay you to be there on the weekend, so you go in there and sober up all their patrons.
Yeah, because they're just gonna start. Well, that would be thing, but then they could also just start drinking an equal amount again, and then start the whole process over. So that should be good.
As a broke millennial, that sounds awful. If I'm going to get my money's worth, I want to catch the buzz on the first round, not get sobered up and go, damn it, now I got to start all over again.
Oh, Clary Sage
completely worthless. Drink like a fish, can't get drunk.
Clary Sage actually increases the effects of alcohol. So if you want to go for a cheap buzz, you can do that. But it does cause night terrors at the same time. So you have to kind of weigh that out.
Give and take.
Iron skirt.
Holly says, Hank, I resemble that comment. She's one of those. I know it. No.
I'll just mass message you when I wake up with the horrid night terrors like, Hank, holy fucking God, you were right.
This happened.
What have you done?
That's
We
fine.
should
I
make
have
that
gone
like
out
a little
just,
blog post online of all the reasons why.
and I have gone out to the winery just to support a couple times. I just wasn't actively doing sessions because it was just it's got to be fun for me. And drunk people
Yeah.
getting healings is not. Well, maybe I could just maybe I'll do readings for that night. I don't do it often, but maybe readings would be more fun.
Well, you have
think
to
about it.
admit they'll be properly relaxed.
Yeah, they will. But then the drunk
That-
people bring all the entities with them too, and then they
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
oh,
they do. They
They're
do.
buddy.
Yeah, but even when they're not drunk, they still bring entities with them. I will say I love the winery because it's if you get a good weather night, if you are set up and it's twilight, you really get it's got this nice feel to it, you know, because the twinkling lights, the weather, the breeze, the camaraderie. You get a good group of people coming through, and yes, there is that sweet spot. It feels fantastic, and then all of a sudden, it just turns on, and that's it. No.
Wine slushies, enough said. Yes, their wine slushies are freaking awesome. Laura's been one of our readers out there as well.
No, you're right.
Yeah. All right. So this is what, good night for the third or fourth time.
Right?
Might be
for real this time.
Really fun.
but we're having fun, Mom.
Oh
You know, once we end the stream, I still actually have a question that I thought of like 30 minutes ago. I'm like, I gotta remember to bring that up, but we can end the stream first.
The after the back behind.
After.
The after show.
I think they call that detention.
Been there, done that.
The in-school suspension in the back room after we take the live off, and I yell at everybody like, "What were you thinking?"
The bathroom club.
Keep my pin hand reader strong.
Remember, Melissa, open palm leaves less of a mark.
That's right. What is it, like lemons in a sock leave no marks when you beat them with it? Isn't that what Grandma said?
Wow.
That was information we all needed. Yes.
Not that we have a reason to know that.
No, not saying that I've done it or anything.
No, this is more Grandma's forte. She will show you how you can hit someone with no mark.
We just got 5 extra viewers who are sitting there going, I'm taking notes.
Right.
Oh, no, see, that's when you get into like the old school boomer mentality. Forget the physical abuse. Go for the psychological abuse. It's longer.
Physical's just lazy.
Right? Do some work.
My tourmaline. I'm just gonna throw my tourmaline and repel you all. How about that?
Needs to be bigger.
You might need more than that.
You're getting more.
I mean,
get a
that
handful.
tiny. You have to have precise throwing and aim for the eyes and hope that you have glasses.
Go for
I
the
played
eyes.
softball. It's all good.
Now, for those of you that are watching this and are not used to us, the whole reason this is called After Hours is because it's when we're not on our best behavior, best of intentions, but not our best behavior.
What?
This is what we talk about and do when there's nobody in the store or we're not busy with something.
We're people too.
Oh wait, you guys aren't filming in front of a live studio audience like I am?
What?
There you go.
Weird.
Human?
You guys not been hearing the laugh track I've been queuing? I've been trying.
Got you.
There's so
All right.
many comments. We got to get off of here.
All right.
Yes, I was going to say this is goodbye number like 4 or 5 now. The best Sunday night fun we can have that's legal. It's the Elite After Hours once a month. Bring your friends next month with more questions. All right.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next month on the
Bye.
28th after the fair, 8 o'clock. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Good.